Hello everybody, my name is Matthew and we are the Scoops. It is Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. I'm just out here watering my plants. I figured I'd bring you guys along, chew your ear a little bit, just kind of chit chat. So one thing I've gone over a little bit is why we're doing this, why we're going down this particular path, why we want to start we want to eventually farm and become self-sustainable and basically homestead. And I want to kind of dive into that just a little bit more. So the whole story actually goes back a few years, about 2017 or so, and the idea originally started as just the notion of, the kids were getting a little older, about to start graduating. We weren't sure what the plans were at that point for them. But we did know that, just a few more years, more of them would be graduating. And eventually we wanted to figure out what we were going to do after all that. So the idea started just simply, move out to the country, to a nice quiet area, maybe a couple of acres, put a little house on it, maybe do a little gardening, and just enjoy some peace and quiet. And that's basically it. That's kind of the end of the story as far as that part goes. We were looking at like northern Arizona, because we live down here in Arizona as it is. So we talked about moving to Arkansas a little bit, but that was basically it. That was kind of the end of the story. We didn't really talk too much more about it after that, really. Every once in a while it would kind of come up. I'd see a little piece of land or whatever, but that was about it. But then something started kind of gnawing at the back of my mind, basically telling me that that little idea wasn't enough. There's more to it, that more needed to be done. I can't quite explain it. It's just, it was something that was really back there in the back of my mind, just telling me, no, there's more. Eventually, it got to the point to where not only did we start forming this idea that basically ended up actually more or less knowing where actually we wanted to move to, and that's where Arkansas came into play. And as time went on, we really started reevaluating certain things. For example, food sourcing. Basically coming to an understanding that our current means of sourcing food is broken. Our food system, I should say, is broken. And we started understanding that to a certain degree even before these last couple of years. And of course we all know what's been going on with all that, empty shelves and shortages and supply chains issues and so on and so on, but we're not going to dwell on that. We were already deciding to go on this path before even all of that started happening. And we started looking at various homesteaders and we began following several of them. A couple in particular that we quite enjoy. Kept going on until, of course, decided, this is it. We're going to give ourselves a few years, kids be out of high school. We're still waiting for that. And then we're going to buy property and actually take this to a whole nother level. Now, my initial idea continued to grow even from there, though. I want to become self-sustaining. I want to be able to grow most, if not all, of our food. And the ultimate goal, of course, would be able to not only grow and raise our food, but raise the food for example, our animals and such. I mean, that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? But it goes even further beyond that. It ends up actually going to a generational aspect. Being able to build something that not only am I going to benefit from, but so will my children, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And so it became this notion of, I guess you call it like a legacy gardening, legacy farming. The idea that I can build something that my ancestors that come after me will benefit from. A sustainable food source, or the means of sustaining our own food for generations. Now that's a pretty big deal. And so that's kind of where we're at with that. Now there's another notion, which is the idea of going back to a simpler lifestyle. Now, personally, I think that phrase comes with some consideration. I do believe that some people kind of mistake the idea of a simpler lifestyle with an easier lifestyle. And I don't believe that's necessarily the case. If it was easy, I would think everybody would be doing it, or at least more people would be doing it. I'm not looking for easy. Now, as far as simple, what I take that as is more of a reorganizing of priorities. What I mean by reorganizing of priorities is just that things that you began focused on, even worried about, become, I believe, less materialistic maybe. Focus changes. And along with that, I believe the reward for effort changes. And as far as the reward changing, I believe a lot of that, and even your worries, become more grounded. At least that's part of my hope. That's what I'm striving for. Let's not also forget the health aspect. I think it's become more and more knowledgeable that organic growing, reducing or not even using the chemicals that they use for pesticides and herbicides, you got a health impact as well. Another thing with YouTube is being introduced to a community that has a lot to offer in terms of knowledge. As an example, yesterday I posted a video about making Alfredo, and one of the comments was actually questioning if I'd actually canned any of it. Well, no, I hadn't even thought of doing that, and probably wouldn't have necessarily thought of doing that, or at least not as quickly, because of the comment. Oh, you can guarantee it's on my mind now. Would have never even thought of doing that. I've seen and been suggested so many different options already that just never crossed my mind. And having that extra wealth of knowledge, to me, is just invaluable. I mean, it's amazing. Like I said, I would have never even thought of canning that Alfredo, and now I'm going to. So that's just something to put on my list. So that's going to about do it for me today. I just want to kind of get into more of that, kind of give you a little more insight onto why I'm going this direction. Now, there's a little more to the story, obviously, but for the most part, that's it. That's what I got. By the way, moving this hose around and everything and walking around this one-handed, because I've got the camera in on the other hand, is definitely something I'm going to have to get used to. It's not necessarily optimal. So, anyway, that'll about do it. By the way, I started Friday at 9 subscribers. Now, just prior to recording this video, I was already up to 60. The support that I've received so far is absolutely amazing, and that type of growth is beyond what I would have ever expected. And so I know I've thanked you all for this in the last couple of videos, but I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I really do mean that. Thank you. And obviously, of course, to those who are new to the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe, and go ahead and hit that notification bell if you'd like to know when I upload new videos. Currently I'm doing videos every day, and I'm going to continue doing them every day until essentially I have a reason not to. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.